Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Marshall Ross. I'm here today to bring you through the next part of our medical optimization course. Today, we're going to talk about the power of positive thinking, self-talk. You think about 3,000 words per minute. That's amazing. Now, most of what we think are in fragments or pieces. We don't generally think in full sentences, just words here, words there, our mind jumping around. And what you think about is influenced by your innate personality, your past experiences, as well as your subconscious. Think, if throughout your life you're told that you are dumb, you are useless and lazy, you probably say the same things to yourself. But imagine, if you're saying those things to yourself at a rate of 3,000 words per minute, that's going to affect your mental health. Improving the way that you talk to yourself can have profound effects on your physical and mental health. We know that those who are able to employ better self-talk have more resistance to the common cold. They have better coping skills during hardships and times of stress. They have better cardiovascular health and a reduced risk of cardiovascular disease. That's probably from limiting the amount of adrenaline and cortisol, all the stress hormones that course through your veins when you start talking negatively to yourself. We know that self-talk can lead to better psychological and physical well-being. It can actually improve your lifespan. You can live longer if you talk better to yourself. Of course, this comes with lower levels of distress and lower rates of depression. Now, of course, changing the way you talk to yourself is not easy. Self-talk is deeply ingrained from all of our past experiences, but it can be changed. You can change your internal dialogue. It may feel uncomfortable at first, but changing self-talk will become more natural with practice. Negative self-talk and negative self-image are often not true representations of how we feel about ourselves, but instead, they're symptoms of mental illness such as depression, anxiety, and trauma. You can heal from these diseases, and you can heal the way you think and talk to yourself. So how? Well, first step is to identify negative self-talk patterns. So we're going to review a few of them here. One negative self-talk pattern is personalizing. This is taking things personally when they're not connected or caused by you at all. So for example, your friends cancel an evening out and you assume it's because you said something that upset them. And now they no longer want to spend time with you. Much more likely, your friends are sick, they have other plans. It's much more likely that it has absolutely nothing to do with you. Personalizing is when you take things that are not or very unlikely to be related to you or your actions, and you assume that they're because of you. Personalizing. Filtering. This is when you focus on the negative aspects of a situation and filter out the positives. One example, you write an exam and you get 19 out of 20 questions correct. Instead of focusing on your outstanding mark, a 95%, all you can think about is the one answer you got wrong. You perseverate on it. That's filtering. Focusing on the negative aspects. Catastrophizing. This is when you expect the worst and you do not let logic or reason convince you otherwise. For example, you order a coffee in the morning and the barista gets your coffee order wrong. Now you assume that the rest of your day is going to be ruined. Inevitably, you think, now my day is going to be a total disaster. In reality, what happens with your coffee order really does not impact the rest of your day at all. But if you catastrophize, you take small problems and you assume that the reach of them is much broader than it is. That's catastrophizing. Polarizing. You see everything as good or bad, black or white, and you fail to acknowledge that there's a spectrum for most of life. Most things in life are gray. And you tend to feel like if you're not perfect, if you're not entirely on one end of the spectrum, you're a failure. So for example, You're looking for a job. You do not get the first job you apply for, and so you assume you're a failure and you will probably never get a job at all. It's simply not true. Most people have to apply for several jobs before they get hired. Most people switch jobs after a period of time. Not getting hired at your first job does not indicate that you're a failure. It's just, it's gray. It's somewhere in the middle. Polarizing is the inability to recognize that in between, that gray area. So think for a second. Do you do any of these? Do you polarize? Do you filter? Do you catastrophize? Do you personalize? Try to think now of a thought that you've had in the past that fits into one of these categories. Try to just reflect for a second as to which of these negative thought patterns you may be guilty of doing. So now we're going to move on to an exercise. The 3 C's: catch it, check it, change it. Here's how you proceed. I want you to think of a thought that you've had that fits into one of those categories. Maybe polarizing, maybe catastrophizing, filtering. It's up to you. And I want you to work through this exercise to recognize the thought and then have a more productive thought. So here's an example. My friend canceled our plans this evening. They probably don't like me and they're going to go with someone else. What we want to do is catch that thought. So when you think it, recognize it. That's step 1. Next thing to do is to check it. Does this really make sense? Is this an honest interpretation of the situation? Or am I being unfair to myself? And then finally, change it. Flip the script. Think of a new way to have that thought that is kinder to yourself. So in this example, the new sentence may be, my friend canceled our plans this evening. I'll have to go find out why. Maybe we can rebook. A much more honest and fair and kind way to think through this. So here's the exercise. Take a minute. What I'd like you to do is hit pause. Take one of these thoughts that you've identified. Write it down. Check it. Is it healthy? Is it helpful? Is it realistic? Review facts and evidence. Think objectively. And speak to yourself the same way you'd speak to someone else. If, let's say, your brother was going to go to the movies and someone canceled plans on him, would you go to your brother and say, your friends probably don't like you? No, of course you wouldn't speak to them that way. You'd say, well, your friends probably couldn't make it for some other reason. Maybe they feel sick. Maybe something came up. So speak to yourself the way you'd speak to other people. And then finally, change it. Write down a more helpful, rational, or realistic thought. So please hit pause now and go ahead and complete this exercise. It should take you, 5 to 10 minutes. Go ahead. Welcome back. Hopefully that exercise was useful for you. We're going to move on now to talk about a different part of self-talk, explore a different tool. We are going to talk about visualization, imagining your success. There's a study out of the University of Chicago that illustrates this more effectively than anything else. So there were essentially 3 groups of students who were learning to take free throws in basketball. Group 1 did not practice. They did nothing. They shot free throws at the start, and then they shot free throws at the end of the study, and they saw if they got any better doing absolutely nothing. The second group did 30 minutes of free throws per day, every day throughout the duration of the study. And the third group sat in the gym and imagined themselves doing free throws. They visualized themselves shooting perfect free throws time after time after time. But interestingly, they did not touch a basketball. They just visualized it. That's it. No basketballs, just visualizing. What happened? Well, group 1, not surprisingly, they did nothing and they showed no improvement. Group 2, this is the group that actually shot basketballs. They improved by about 24%. And group 3, the ones that actually sat in the gym and imagined themselves shooting basketballs, they improved by 23%. That's amazing. Isn't that cool? That not even touching a basketball, they got dramatically better at shooting free throws just by imagining their success. What you need to take home from this is that visualizing your success makes a difference. This effect is carried beyond physical activities and also involves social activities, intellectual pursuits. How it works is when we visualize things going the way that we want, we're imagining successful outcomes. Our brain starts to automatically work towards that outcome. Our subconscious starts doing work on our behalf. Our brain takes subtle actions, makes subtle decisions to bring us what we're expecting. So for example, let's say you have an interview coming up and you're very nervous about it. It's very important for your career. If you visualize things going well in the interview and you imagine yourself getting that acceptance letter, when you show up to the interview, your brain's already been through this. So you're more calm, you smile, you have a more natural tone of voice, your speech is less halting. You act and feel more confident because that's what your brain is expecting of you. You've already thought through it, and your subconscious is making small, subtle actions and decisions to bring you to where it's expecting to be. So just visualizing what you want to happen will actually make it happen. And that's pretty amazing. It's a powerful tool. We are going to finish today's course with an exercise. This will take maybe 4 or 5 minutes. I want you to think of a situation that you desire. I want you to imagine a successful outcome. Maybe this is you back at work, in the flow, doing whatever work it is that you do. Maybe you're completing a physical activity successfully. Maybe it's hiking to the top of a mountain. Maybe you're with friends or family laughing at a dinner table, or maybe you're having a excellent conversation with your romantic partner and you're feeling very connected. Whatever this successful outcome is for you, I want you to think of it. So think of something right now. Okay. Now, in this successful situation, I want you to imagine every possible detail. What clothes are you wearing? How do they feel against your skin? What sounds can you hear? What smells do you notice? Who is around you? And what are they doing? I want you to imagine every color and every texture in great detail. Now, I want you to hit the pause button and take at least 1 minute to imagine this version of you in as much detail as possible. So go ahead and hit the pause button now. I'll see you when you get back. I hope that went well for you. Congratulations. Your subconscious has just registered a new version of you. If you feel like it, you can go back to this place. You can recreate this visualization in your mind's eye from time to time. Know that your mind has already started pushing towards this version of yourself. You don't even have to do anything. Your subconscious is already making tiny decisions to bring you closer to that version of yourself. That is the power of visualization. Thanks, guys. That is all we have for today. I look forward to seeing you at the next medical optimization course.